All right.
Very
Anyway,
kind of
we got a live game here. Picks and bans have been picked and banned. So let me bring these up here onto the screen with the
Yeah.
picks and ban things on it.
Well, just before we get into, well, we'll go ahead and do it. But I'm looking at these here, looking at these picks and bans for the season, and Balcony is Watermeat's most picked venue and
Mm-hmm.
Skrewwl00se's most banned. So I feel like the first choice is probably gonna be pretty obvious.
Yep. All right. So let's see. How do we go? There we go. So Watermeat had the first ban, and that is library, which is
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
skrewwl00se is basically a camping sniper, so I kind of suspect that he will try and avoid those venues.
and the other ban, balcony. Not much.
There
of a
we go.
surprise.
No, I would love to take credit for that being some kind of intelligent observation, but it was probably the most predictable thing about this draft.
All right. The first pick from Watermeat. Ooh, we got a good one going here. Aquarium.
Nice.
Ooh.
Second pick. Ooh, another personal favorite. Gallery.
You do like gallery.
I do
quite
indeed.
a bit. That's why I had to ban it against you twice.
I know. I indeed know that.
Sorry.
That's all right. I like other maps. All right. Anyway, the second or venue, I should say, is Veranda. From
Mm-hmm.
and yep,
That's surprising.
Yep. Is it?
I'll talk about it in a bit.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
the final pick, if we get that this far, is Tayen.
Okay, so was it Screw who picked Tayen or Watermeat?
It is Screw who picked Tayen.
Yeah, so I was anticipating a Watermeat Tayen pick. So the fact that Screw picks it in the end shows that really just wants the ability, I suppose, to try and get some spy wins past each other in the final hour.
Yeah,
but
just in
Watermeat
case.
picking that, so it's kind of surprising to see that Screws decided to do it instead.
Yep.
Well, not just that, both picks are a little surprising because Watermeat has not played Aquarium yet this season and has only played Veranda once. It was a single pick, 2 games. So this is uncharted territory for Watermeat. I think they're a little worried about this match. They understand that Skrewwl00se is going to be one of their toughest opponents this season, so they're mixing it up.
All right, and we're just about there. Bring up this game screen, all right, and I can send a little smoke signal to let them know that they can start whenever.
So we got this matchup's really interesting. I might as well jump into it whilst we wait for the players to start up here. Watermeat's been a little bit MIA, I suppose, in SEL for the last couple of weeks. Currently has about 4 or 5 matches pending, but don't tell Kaylee. It's okay because we're playing one of them now. Yeah, basically, I'm sniping this instead of spying.
So who do you think the spy is?
Just off that. Are we ready to go? Have you got it set up?
Yeah, it's going right now.
Oh, it's going? All right,
I can restart. If you want.
Yeah. I think my thing didn't go because I had it on sniper instead of spy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why not? Yeah, we can restart.
Sure.
Just let me know when you're ready.
You ready, Track?
I am.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Playing it. Yeah, so this is a really interesting matchup. Like I was saying, Watermeat has quite a few matches to play, but is well in shot for a first place finish in silver if they're able to make their way through and essentially win all 5 of their matches. And they kind of rely on me losing one of my remaining 3 matches. Watermeat is one of my remaining 3 matches, so that's a secondary match I would have to lose. For Screw, they have 3 matches they need to win as well, one of them being versus me. And versus Watermeat as well. So both these players have the ability to kind of push their way into first, into silver, Screw potentially more so than Watermeat, due to the fact that if they beat me, then they pretty much guarantee it. However, it's going to be really interesting to see which one comes out on top, because Watermeat's a very strong player, but still lack of data due to the fact they've kind of been MIA for a little bit.
And that sniper has suffered a little bit this season for Watermeat. It was in just a handful of matches last season, and Challenger was 87%, which is pretty good in any division, but it's down to around 55% here in the more rarefied air of silver. So they've definitely struggled up against these better spies so far.
Is that a cross-seasons track? Just as a
Yeah, 87% challenger last season, 55% sniper win rate in silver this season. So it's a big drop. You expect some drop certainly, but usually not that big.
an aquarium, a venue that I know Watermeat was feeling pretty confident on. Didn't quite make it into the top 4 for the Shark Weekend tournament when Aquarium came out, but was able to snag a couple of good wins against some good players. Was one of the few people who 2-0'd me in the tournament on the first day, who was very surprised by that result. Didn't feel he had it in him. You can see that Watermeat really just setting up for a very standard spy game here on Aquarium. This is probably going to be a shot coming out. skrewwl00se basically shows us that he is most suspicious of skrewwl00se. It's the classic Softail variant here, and once Watermeat steps in for a fingerprint or even just this last flirt, I kind of expect that Screw's going to shoot just in case he's missed a bug.
Yeah, I think so, because you have to credit that sometimes. It's actually much harder to complete the Softail win here on Aquarium because before you even get a chance sometimes, yeah, you're going to be credited with that bug unless you deliberately make a point to never be behind that shark with the ambassador, which is pretty tough.
Skrew holds the shot on the flirt. The flirt, Watermeat survives, but can pretty much anticipate that on the next fingerprint, unless an AI does something ridiculously suspicious, that this is going to be a sniper win for Skrew.
I think so. I think they're waiting for one more thing. You're absolutely right. And you might be right about them crediting the bug anyway, and it would make sense against Watermeat, who bugs about 40% of the time when it's available.
Here
Pretty
comes
high.
the fingerprint, and here comes the shot. Very controlled game from skrewwl00se there. Really had no doubts about it. And since this is live, we can dive straight on into the next one. skrewwl00se is going to be spying as Seek here.
And skrewwl00se bugs even more than Watermeat, almost 53% of the time. And yes, that is a high rate by pretty much any standard. The only thing they don't do with any regularity is swap. But you might do it on Aquarium.
Skrew also has some competitive experience on Aquarium this season. Has played 4 games of it with a win rate of about 50%. Surprisingly, that comes from 2 spy wins and 2 sniper losses. So for that sniper win coming through for Skrew, you've got to feel very happy about that. And now if you can convert a spy win here on Aquarium, then you're in a great spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Skrew's spy win rate this season, almost as high as Watermeat's sniper win rate, actually.
No, it's really high. Skrew's been playing a fierce game for sure. We'll have to see how Skrew wants to play it. Has opened up with the Softails, 51% flirt, contact, and a fingerprint. Attempts for the bug? No, he didn't. It would have been a very clean attempt if he wished to have gone for it. I love that there. The little pause in front of the AI. It's something that AIs tend to do when they have their spot taken in certain scenarios. And if a sniper's looking for it, it's great. I don't think Watermeat's one of those snipers, though.
You're right about that bug. It would have been very interesting because it was top shark, but the fin helped cover for it because they were near the top of the conversation circle too. So it would have been an atypical time to bug, which maybe would have made it a really good idea, but does not happen.
Fingerprint's done here. Flirt's almost done. 85%, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. We've got Delegate ready to go if we want to attempt it. Seduction target stepping towards green bookshelf to put that back. We could just go and flirt there if we want to. Would be 3 at bookshelves. It doesn't seem like Skrew wants to risk it at that stage. And with so much time left, you just look for the final flirt, and then most likely here on Aquarium, a swap finish.
Yeah, probably. I think we're about to run out of the delegate timer, and we're next to a low light anyway, so it's just as well.
Here comes Salmon, our seduction target. We are going to delegate to Teal.
Cast.
It is cast, but it expires, like you mentioned, pretty much as soon as we send it. Now we can step into conversation with Salmon across the conversation as to not look like we're flirting. Finish that flirt off, and still 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Now, of course, at this stage, you do get to a point where you are suspicious of characters, and a little bit of a safety off on Bling Twin there shows that Watermeat is certainly feeling the pressure on Aquarium at this late stage. How does Skrew want to finish this? A bug? A swap? It's going to be really interesting. The bug could be a really good way of doing it if you just think you can get away with it. It's going to be a high shark coming across. It could be a great time to attempt a wrong arm bug here. Does Skrew want it? He's not looking at the shark. Now he sees it. Is he going to attempt it with the shark? No, holding on for now.
That timing was almost incredible. Bling Twin, who just had the safety flashed off on them, was at statues as the top shark approached, but now you can see they've been bumped back down. almost shot before maybe, safety off, but now not even highlight anymore because of a third statue visit with top shark and no
here we go.
swap coming off.
Middle shark blocking, bug comes through. Was Watermeat suspicious of it? We're going to windows as well. No laser movement. Great timing coming through from skrewwl00se, and that's going to be a spy win for him.
Yeah, flashing on Duke as the mission win countdown completes. A little surprised we didn't get a shot there because Watermeat shoots about 80% of the time, which is a bit above average. But it's just a really, really clean game. It's the kind of game where you have to shoot for circumstance, and you really don't want to do that if you don't have to. Watermeat holds the shot, but should have shot, and skrewwl00se is up 2-0 just like that on Watermeat's doubled venue pick.
I love the decision to go for a hardtail here on Aquarium. I think it's a venue that you really do have to lean into the hardtails due to all of the shark cover. You can see Skrew waited for that middle shark to come. As soon as it came, he struck on the bug, and it was completely behind the shark. There's no way to see the bug happening. You have to insinuate it, knowing that 2 fingerprints have already gone to that character, and they could be waiting for their 4th mission here. Watermeat now spying as one of the twins, going to be the twin that almost burnt him, Bling Twin here, to see if he can pull this one back, but currently 2-0 to skrewwl00se.
You're absolutely right about leaning into the hardtails. I've made the mistake of trying to complete softtails in both casual and competitive games on Aquarium, and it just doesn't work because they're crediting the hardtails sometimes anyway. So you might as well do them.
Starting on a high shark here, Watermeat going to step towards the blue bookshelf. Will we attempt anything cheeky with this mid shark? At the beginning of the mid shark, you can attempt stuff from bookshelves, but no, it seems like we're just idling here. We've got a fingerprint from the briefcase that we can step straight into. Bit awkward there. May have missed the ring for the second step to come through, and that's definitely un-AI-like. We'll have to see if Skrew saw it and whether that suspicion laid onto Bling Twin.
He did zoom in on him. I think he saw that.
Does he see it? I don't think he did.
I think he's going to wait, but he was zoomed in on that briefcase, and remember, Watermeat got shot for fingerprint before. So I think Skrew is already suspicious, but you really don't have to shoot yet.
Be very surprised if Skrew saw the bug there. Just based on what I know of the player, it seems like if he saw the bug, he shoots, and if he didn't see the bug, he highlights. Just my general understanding of the way he plays. But he does have a fingerprint in pocket. This is his 2nd book. Okay, he did see it. It seems like we are getting confirmation from Skrew there. Little safety off.
Yep, although we saw safety off 2 to 3 different times in the previous game, sometimes it just means this is currently my top suspect. Doesn't always mean I'm about to shoot this person.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trend with some of the newer players wanting track to the SEL due to the way that the placements worked. The snipers were told to basically give the star chamber an indication of who you think is suspicious at any given time if you want to. To do that, just take your safety off on them. And so a lot of players have brought that into their play. It's very frequent, I suppose, with anyone who did placements.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those players.
I mean, it's what happens when you know you're being observed, when you know you might be cast. You include a little extra data in the replay for our benefit, and, frankly, we could use it, so we appreciate it.
2 fingerprints done here. A bug stepping into conversation with real contact. A green test here. And Skrew's going to take the shot. Not wanting to risk that flirt was complete. Really good mission counting come from Skrew, and really keen eye for that bug as well.
Yeah, and I think actually that's the problem here, is that he's getting onto Watermeat early, and when you get onto them early, you have a lot of confidence in that mission count. If they become a suspect around the middle of the game, say even after a full minute, the mission count is not going to be as confident. They might have to take a more aggressive shot. So I think what Watermeat probably wanted to do here was not go for those early fingerprints, not be looked at early, try to maybe only become a suspect late in the game, if at all. Hard to avoid, obviously. Because once Skrew tunnels on you there, it seems like they tend to take the right shot. And now they are 1 away from sweeping their opponent's doubled venue.
Yeah, no, Aquarium's a venue that Skrew is very comfortable on, has played it so much since it came out. Hasn't played it competitive yet. It seems like Skrew was very happy to allow others to pick for them. Going to be a highlight coming through onto Skrew really early here, who is swapping the statue. Blocked from the shark, and I don't think Watermeat will have a confident read on what that statue was, and so we'll have to essentially credit the potential swap on General here. And choosing a tall character like that, like General, and going for the instant swap, it's a really smart play.
It absolutely is, yeah. And like we said before, you're going to be suspected of a lot of this stuff anyway. And even if you're crediting that swap early on, and it sure looks like Watermeat might be, By the end of this game, a lot of other people are going to have potentially done a lot of other things.
Contact comes through. Green test. Quite a few low lights available to Watermeat, and he will take them. Not as many as you would hope. Maybe you assume real. A lot of people in that side conversation there with the ambassador that you could low light if you felt like it. Watermeat's going to play safe here. Skrew, 2 missions completed. Inspect's done. Now wants to look to potentially pick up the Seduce. I think Skrew can't go back to statues, though. We'll have to see how confident his read on suspicion is. An attempt at a walking bug fails. It doesn't seem like it's going to burn him just yet. And like I was saying, I think that stepping into statues is death. I'll be interested to see if Watermeat, Skrew notices that and attempts for a bug instead.
It probably would be the safer play at this point, which is a little weird. And we're seeing the same thing we saw last game that I just mentioned about early suspicion. The downside to that swap is you're going to be watching the rest of the game, and they're going to have a really good sense of your mission count. And if you do go back into statues, like you say, they're probably going to credit Flirt, and they're probably going to take that shot. They might not like it, but in this case, we know it would be the right one.
There's many good places you can set up for a reverse drive-by bug. Potentially General not the strongest character for that, considering how tall he is in conversation. Skrew is going to step in for the second inspect here. We'll have to see if this is just a shot coming through by Watermeat. Tends to not hesitate with these shots either. Flashing safety off on Skrew. Does he believe that Flirt could still be undone? Seems like he may because he hasn't shot yet. We'll have to see if Watermeat can complete it. Stepping back into the same conversation across from his seduction target. He's not going to get it done anytime soon here.
Yeah, this is either too passive, or he's actually not crediting the swap necessarily, because it's hard to imagine, or he has a really, really good mission count on that Flirt, which seems hard to believe.
Here's the third attempt at Flirt, and it looks like the shot will come through. And Watermeat is going to find the correct shot onto Skrew's spy here, pushing himself forward and picking up his first point. Not the best for your double map warning track.
Water track. Warning meat. Yeah. Fair enough. Obviously Salvage is a little something there at the end, and it's a very good shot. What's interesting, though, is that they had enough of a read on the Flirt to shoot for that talk, but not enough of a read on the Flirt to know who they were flirting with, because if they did, they would have known they couldn't have possibly finished there. But in this case, better safe than sorry. And we're just seeing incredible mission counts coming out from these snipers, specifically because the spies are being suspicious early. The snipers are watching them early and therefore counting their missions very deliberately and shooting them with, frankly, a lot of patience.
Onto gallery here, and it's a venue that Skrew has favored time and time again this season. A 80% pick rate overall. It's huge. It's a venue also with really good statistics as far as sniper is concerned, very high up in the 80s, and the spy is just under 50%, but that's fine. If you're winning over 80% of your sniper games, then any spy win you get, even if it's just 1 out of 2, is a net profit, as you can go 3-1 like he's just done on Aquarium.
And it's not just over 80% total. This season specifically, a perfect 8 for 8 on Sniper as Gallery.
Fantastic. It's very funny as well, because I was talking to Yeesh about what he thought was a good venue to play into Skrew, and he's like, pick Gallery into him. It's like, yeesh, you don't know statistics when it comes to these guys too. That's going to be a quick green Purloin, and Watermeat was saying, I just hope I can hit my green tests today. Well, he's going to open up with a green test Purloin. 1 reject comes through from Pearl, 2 rejects onto Bling to win. This is going to look pretty good for Watermeat. I don't see how he gets burnt. That's a 3rd reject. Irish as well. Oh no.
Yeah, we're in big trouble now.
Request him back over.
But it's the same thing. The suspicious thing is happening early in the game. So if Skrew's on this, he'll have it down to 3 or 4 people the rest of the gallery game. But the odds that one of those AIs could finish could be pretty high.
He's on it! That's a highlight coming through on to Walt.
Yep.
2 more people, Irish and Bling Twin, are involved in this reject chain. And let's see if they get highlighted as well. That's a low light onto Bling Twin. Maybe we lost one of them. That's fine. That's so much information gained here from Skrew.
And it's early.
Purloin.
It's early. So what are the odds that one of these other suspects are going to finish? Irish is right next to the ambassador out front. That's a little scary. But Watermeat needs to have a sense of who's in this reject chain, because the odds of him actually finishing... Oh, wow!
No
Did he get away with that? I think he got away with that.
That bug, potentially, one of the bugs of the seasons if Watermeat got away with that. We'll have to get a sick bug cam at the end of this match regardless, because that was so clean. Watermeat with the blue book. I think let's not get greedy. Let's return it back and just finish Softails, contact and flirt. But no, it seems like Watermeat's going to get greedy. That's a blue book going back to green bookshelves, and that's an insta shot coming through. Watermeat, a very aggressive spy, and I think that was a tad too much.
So here's what Watermeat's thinking, and it's not an unreasonable thing to think. Early green, long reject chain, there's a chance I'm just low lit. That happens all the time on Gallery. I would say it happens more on Gallery than almost any other venue, especially if you can like hightail it outside by the time the Perlin goes off. In this case, we know that skrewwl00se was completely on top of it, had the party narrowed down, and I don't know if they were ahead or behind, but at that point, there was so little that Watermeat was going to be able to get away with. That bug maybe could have been part of it. That could have been amazing, but too greedy, as you said, with the microfilm. At that point, there are just too few people to look at.
You've already got away with 2 hardtails. Why go for the third there? Bit of a blunder when it comes to your spy play and potentially feeling the heat, considering we're now 4-1 down in this series, and Watermeat desperately needs to take out people like Screw in the Silver Division to have a shot at the tournament of position, let alone to snag first place in the division. We'll have to see if they can bring this one back. A sniper game to come. Skrewwl00se going to be spying as Kane.
And just in a fantastic position. And skrewwl00se now, by the way.
He tried.
Tried and
First
failed.
bug attempt.
Doesn't cost you much. skrewwl00se, though, now 9 for 9 on Gallery this season as sniper.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Early flirt, white test, 34%. Not bad. Really good pacing and really good position to get that early flirt as well. Going to chuck the book back into the bookshelf. Bit of a animation cut, but I doubt that will be an issue for Screw. We can step in and pick up the first briefcase of the game as well. Get an early fingerprint. Will be a long return, which means that we get to see very clearly that Kane does have the briefcase. I'm always a fan of a bit of cheese track, you know, just drop it straight on the spot.
It would have been particularly effective here because they were behind the conversation and the sniper was zoomed out, the ambassador was moving. I think there's a decent chance they would have been able to put it down without incident.
Bit of a ugly return there from Screw. Stops a little bit early. And I assume that Watermeat would have been staring down Kane with the return due to the fact that his Kane was available. But we haven't received a highlight just yet, which is a good sign. Bit of a drink offer, reject innocent, but we'll just put the pressure on the idea of Purloin potentially coming through.
Very interesting Screw, by the way, obviously out to a big lead here, and that's kind of how most of their matches have gone. They have 3 ties, but other than those 3 ties, every match has been lopsided. 7-1, 7-0, 7-3, 7-2. So it's kind of one or the other. Either they're deadlocked or they run away with it, and right now it looks like they're running away with it.
Another fingerprint on this drink coming to Screw now. Going to accept it. Seduction target. Shimmies on up, nice and close. We can get a very close flirt here, and the fingerprint complete. Just good pacing here on Gallery. Green test puts us up to 85%, which means that all we need is one more flirt guarantee. We need to find 2 more missions. One would certainly be the contact, but damn, that double agent out in the front conversation. And spies tend to not want to go there. Do we attempt the bug on the walk past? Nope. Basta makes that one easy for us.
And this is very on brand for Skrewwl00se. Completes fingerprint almost a third of their games, almost as much as inspecting even. But after that, it's Bug. Bug is one of their biggest missions, 3rd overall after Contact and Seduce. So with this character on Gallery, you got to imagine they're at least looking for an opportunity, but with a minute left, there might not be one.
Always like to see what happens when a AI brings a drink out on Gallery. We know it's not an AI, it's very clear Skrewwl00se here, but it's a very rare thing on Gallery. AIs don't tend to do it. We're going to go for a time ad here on the minute mark, green test as well, and step in for our contact in the front conversation. Let's see if Watermeat picks up on the slow clock. Fake contact because the double agent bails on us. That's really unfortunate. Maybe it works for Screw. There's a bug attempt. Oh, he gets the low light as the bug comes through and gets whipped up to a neutral immediately afterwards.
We almost had the rare, perilous low light for bugging. That's not how you want to do that, but they do correct it just in time, and it's a good thing too. And now, with that BB not coming through, that time head looks very, very necessary.
Very, very necessary. Gonna look for our final flirt here. Need to beat General out, and we will do so. Front conversation. How quickly do we go for it? Currently, Watermeat's zoomed in on the Ambassador. There's the flirt. We haven't been seen talking yet, which is always good. Now we're seen talking. And a conversation of lowlights, a sea of lowlights, if you will.
DA might not get back in the conversation at this point. You might not even have a chance.
Irish is walking out towards the front, it seems. Nope. Potentially stepping into a statue. Gets rebounded because the doorway was blocked, and that's another highlight coming through, this time because the Ambassador practically bugged themselves. We see that Irish is at the blue bookshelf with 20 seconds on the spy clock. Seems like we're going for a book shuffle here. Blue book to green at the last moment here. Ambassador not really putting up enough of a distraction that this will go unnoticed. I have to think that Watermeat's going to be on top of this. He's basically tracking, and that's going to be a shot coming through onto screen.
I mean, the whole game is the banana bread. If they don't leave, they almost certainly win that game. That's all it comes down to. I understand what Skrew's trying to do there. I think I would have preferred Purloin, rather, in that case, because maybe you get a reject chain, maybe you don't. The book thing is so hard to get away with, unless they don't have that many lowlights. There are multiple people at statues late, maybe body blocking, swap potential, stuff like that, where you split their attention. Yeah, also small, all that stuff. If they have to split their attention, that book rush can actually be really effective. But in this case, the party was actually pretty docile in that last minute. So it all comes down to the DA bailing when they did.
And Watermeat basically assuming that the contact was fake for everyone in that front conversation. So many lowlights pulled from that, and only a neutral light for Kane, because there was the potential for a split into a highlight, and it was correct. A correct decision coming through from Watermeat, correct suspicion being gathered, and an unfortunate spy game, you have to think, for skrewwl00se, who looked like he was on track for a win.
Absolutely. And just, you're right, great awareness from Watermeat to A, take those lowlights, which are tough, but B, make the one crucial exception that salvages the game and possibly the match for them.
Early highlight onto Watermeat. Early swap as well. Did Skrew get an eye on that statue? It was so swift. He's currently looking at it now. Lays it very still. We'll have to see what happens when Buns steps away. No insta-shot coming through. Potentially this is a good start. Watermeat Cannon, new nicknamed Swap Meat in the Summer Cup, just due to his willingness to swap so frequently.
It was the swap on the front-facing statue on Pub that I think really locked the nickname in. You're thinking, if you will swap the least viably swappable statue on any venue, then you deserve the nickname. And I think Skrew's already on this. Watermeat doing the same thing, though. Early suspicion, and skrewwl00se's mission count has been so good. We're doing the same thing, though.
Was a safety off onto Watermeat, though, showing that he is currently suspicious of Watermeat's spy. We'll have to see how that progresses throughout this game. Currently just sitting in that top conversation. Seduction target leaves and comes back to us. Nice little secondary flirt, 58% at long range, but really good progress here for a minute into the gallery. Watermeat already has his inspect and swap as well. Let's not forget.
I can appreciate the aggression, but Skrew has shown you that they are all over the early aggression, and that once they get their teeth into you with this early suspicion, with the early highlights, they're not giving it up.
Attempted a fake contact here. Watermeat potentially trying to reduce suspicion on themselves, but the suspected double agent is in that top conversation. I'd like to see that back, because I know Watermeat's the kind who will watch the double agent leave the conversation and then fake contact because they believe it could be fake. And maybe that was just a really unlucky attempt where the suspected double agent stepped into conversation immediately after that.
Could be. Doesn't matter. Suspected for the swap. That's all it comes down to. It's the same thing. You can't let Skrew start staring at you early in these games. I think you need to rush in the middle or the end a little bit more, because we're seeing the same thing happen every game here.
Very unfortunate stuff coming through for Watermeat, who's looking to try and make a huge run to take first in Silver Division, and really needed this win over skrewwl00se to make that a viable thing. I think if they don't win this match, then they are immediately out of the running for first place in Silver, and they're now fighting for one of those two tournament of position spots in second and third. Skrew currently 5-2 up in this series, now playing Seek on their map of choice, venue of choice, and looking for a green book really early here. We're going to swap it. Look at Watermeat's camera angle. It wasn't great to see Seek at bookshelves, and Looks like Screw's going to play it calm. Picks it up, 2 cycles, and then leaves.
And let's keep iterating, not just 5-2 in this match, 10-0 on gallery as sniper now, still perfect.
When it comes to tournament of position, Watermeat needed a win over skrewwl00se to guarantee a spot here. I think potentially if he loses this match, then it's not going to happen. It'll be really unfortunate for Watermeat, who will be out of the ability to promote any higher this season. However, I remember Watermeat when he joined Silver, he was just astonished that the Star Chamber put him there to begin with, and didn't think that he may have deserved to be here, but so far has shown to be one of the strongest competitors in the division, so has really made a case for himself. Now, looking to try and bring some sniper wins back into favor here. skrewwl00se very slow progress on the gallery this time, with just 2 flirts for 54%.
Those are my favorite kind of stories, like we saw with Uran skipping gold and going into platinum, and now Watermeat being surprised at being in silver but doing so well. I love it when people get up jumped like that and then rise to the occasion, and Watermeat absolutely has, and there's no shame in being even in the middle of the pack the way silver looks this year.
Screw now going to step in for an inspect. Kind of brings things back. Gallery has been such a huge map pick for Screw, and like you say, the sniper win rate is dominant this season. The ban onto Library, that's purely just due to the fact that Watermeat hates that venue. And I would expect that Screw would pick Library, potentially as a secondary venue. But, I mean, Tayan's, I guess, an okay second one, but still, Library, if you really don't like the venue, I can understand banning it. It's just, I know what venue I'm banning versus Screw, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a tough question, right? Do you prioritize your comfort or your opponent's discomfort? I will say that I think I hit kind of a new level personally in competitive when I stopped caring so much about what I felt comfortable with and I focused more on the gulf between my comfort and theirs. It means picking a lot of venues I don't particularly like, but that they dislike more, and that can kind of help get you over a skill plateau competitively.
White time ad has been spotted by Watermeat. Not going to take the shot immediately, just going to take the low lights here. And sweat skrewwl00se out on this spy. Based on the laser movement, Screw has to feel like he is under a lot of threat now. Lots of moving around, the different characters looking for lowlights. Skip onto yourself. If you weren't highlighted already, you certainly are now. Very hard for Screw to finish this one out. Not one to like to time out either, with a 0% timeout rate across SEL 4, Winter Cup, and SEL 5. Could this be the first?
I don't think so. I think way more likely they're going to get shot at the end.
I like it. It's definitely my way to go when it comes to competitive matches. But as we can see here, many lowlights here, and not even a contact yet. 56 seconds on the clock. Watermeat has 54% flirt and 2 inspects. Do we manage to sweat Watermeat out by not doing anything? That's the real question. It's going to be another reject onto the drink here. We're really just trying to make Watermeat believe that we weren't the one to do the time ad. Here comes the contact. It is going to be fake for everyone. No SDAs in any conversations here, and shot being... Wow!
Whoa!
A shot to Buns!
Is that deliberate? He went back and forth there for a second. That can't be a miss shot, can it? There was no rush. They took their time. Oh, boy. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, we may need to revisit this one once the set's done.
I mean, the safety was off for Seek earlier after the time ad, but they also highlit Buns at the time, so apparently they had it down to 2.
I mean, it looked like an intentional 50-50 shot, but
it did.
We'll have to figure out why.
I can't believe that worked. It wasn't even a real BB. I guess they weren't confident about it. They were zoomed out at the time, and there was a yellow arrow sort of hanging around the area. It was sort of in front, I think. So in that snapshot moment, it wasn't easy to be positive unless you were specifically looking for it. And I don't think they were expecting one to go off, so they didn't react maybe quick enough to see that it had to be fake.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit of an odd one there, because I think when you have your cast so low lit down and so obviously filtered like Watermeat had, all you can watch for is basically purloins, bugs, and contacts, and so you would expect that he would be on top of that. That shows, I suppose, the sweat coming through from Watermeat. Down so deep in this series, 6-2 now as we step into Veranda here. Second pick for Watermeat. Hasn't played it very much this season. We'll have to see if they can sweep it to try and bring it back to a tie.
That's the water and Watermeat. It's sweat. And skrewwl00se 5-0-3 coming into this, and obviously not going to suffer their first loss today. The only question is, will they take the outright win or settle for yet another draw?
Good start here. Green microfilm action test at the blue bookshelf there. Going to pop it in the pocket. Watermeat didn't get spotted doing it, but we'll have to see if he can get away with a second one here. Now stepping towards his seduction target for a flirt. Doesn't decide to shimmy on up close. Decides to be respectful here and go for a bit of a ranged flirt, mid-range. Going to start it. White for 26%. Not ideal. Ambassador's walking past. Do we go for the bug? No, we don't. Probably for the best there because it looks like Screw was covering it.
Watermeat is sticking with the do something suspicious right away plan, even though it hasn't worked. But in this case, they got away with it, and they've gotten away with it at the blue bookshelf, which means at some point they can go to green and, with a lot of occlusion, almost certainly finish microfilm without getting shot, unless they're already a huge suspect by the time that happens. So I would actually do it sooner rather than later, since you've already done half the microfilm.
It's a big highlight coming through onto Watermeat. Shaky path into statues. And potentially because it was Screw thought it was the fingerprintable statue, but the Ambassador was at green bookshelf, if I remember correctly, so maybe it's just a highlight for statues nonetheless. But the way he zoomed in there kind of made it look like he was certainly staring down Irish more so than just highlighting for inspects, which I know Screw does. Second flirt will come through. We have the red book in our hand. We'll have to try and hit a green test here to really assure ourselves. It is going to be a green test. 77% makes it nice and easy to hit that 3 flirt at a comfortable range.
Interesting that they have the red book. Again, I mentioned the green bookshelf is the easiest one to get away with microfilm on. So what's the plan here? Do it at red anyway, put it back at red, and then be seen at all 3 bookshelves? I guess that could make you less suspicious in a way.
Banana bread.
Hard to say.
Contact comes through, and lots of people in conversations with SDAs here. What you like to see on gallery. And of course, Toby active. No purloins coming off, and that will allow Screw to be happy at least. Not many lowlights coming through either. We'll have to see if Screw attempts some in a second here, but certainly not. This is the second inspect as well for General.
Who was out during the banana bread, I think. Yeah, that's a big miss lowlight.
Yeah. We'll have to see how Watermeat thinks. We're actually going to attempt the microfilm in the conversation here, and that's going to be spotted. White test into the shot, and that's it. Screw has taken the series.
Very strange decision there, I think. I think you've already gotten away with the hard part of the microfilm. Green is going to be almost free if you time it right, especially if you hit the green. But just too much of a suspect for early activity, bouncing around. And even though the banana bread was so good, still gets caught for the microfilm. That's really rough, because after that banana bread let off only 2 lowlights and General went back into statues, I thought, wow, the momentum on this game might have really shifted. But not quite. You only got to catch one thing. That's why microfilm can be so scary.
Certainly can, and I'd love to get some replays there on some of the matches once Klitos is capable of doing so. Specifically, I think that Buns game, I'd like to really just review what the AI did to, I guess.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and bring that up in a second here.
So my memory is that Buns she had the briefcase at the time, but I think he was not incredibly confident about who had been at Windows very recently or when it had taken place. I think it might have been one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not sure it just happened. It happened in the last 10 seconds. Who was out there, right? Try to remember. And who is trying to look like they weren't just out there, which means sometimes people with drinks, people with books, people at statues, people with briefcases, stuff like that. People who have moved on to another activity to make it look like they couldn't have just time added, something like that. But she was holding the briefcase at the time, and I remember being a little surprised. The fact that she got a highlight anyway makes me think that they didn't notice the time add immediately.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest, because as soon as the timeout happens, you see Watermeat essentially just put his laser on top of Seek.
Right. So that fits though. Oh, sure, that fits though.
And so if Buns is inside the gallery when it happens, and she
is, yeah.
Then that's a missed low light, but 2, I think it shows that he was on top of the time ad and just panicked towards the end here, because you can see the laser movement immediately after the timeout happens onto Seek, while Spuns is inside the gallery.
Well, right. So
It's
the laser
highlit at
movement,
the time as well.
as soon as the timeout happens, indicates that they have definitely noticed when it happens. The question is, when they do notice, how confident are they that they noticed as it happened, as opposed to, did I just notice this? It's also possible that it started off exactly the way you're saying, that it's, oh, I got it. It just happened. They start low lighting, and then they think, how sure am I? And then they hesitate, and they take maybe one highlight they're not sure about, which in this case ends up being the sieve they shoot. Obviously, a lot of stuff can go through your mind in the moments. You can doubt yourself. You can double back. You can do some half measure, which I think might have been what happened there. But it's really heartbreaking from our perspective because we know that Skrew was nowhere close to finishing.
Yeah, and neither was Buns. She had fingerprint, one set of inspects, steps into conversation. The contact is about 2.5 seconds, maybe 2 seconds fake based on the double agent stepping out. You see Buns talking, you see the stop talk come through from Seek, then you see a stop talk come through from Buns, and I think that may have just been enough for Watermeat to justify the shot there. But still, not a great mission count, and a really unfortunate sniper loss, because I think that was a game that Watermeat kind of should have won.
Agreed.
And then, I mean, if we want to go back and see one more thing, Klutos, before we jump into the next series, it has to be that bug coming through from Watermeat in the game just previously, because that was it was actually the first spy game on Gallery. That was such a strong spy game and strong start, a strong sniper game really as well from Skrew to be able to ingest that reject chain, a four-person reject chain at the beginning of the game. It's bonkers.
Yeah, but just as bonkers to get away, not just with the bug itself is good, but not unbelievable. What's unbelievable is that they maybe get away with it as one of just a few suspects. Because you figure at that point, you're not going to be able to finish. You're probably hoping that one of the other rejectors is going to look like they could be finishing and get shot. Your odds of actually getting the mission win at that point are pretty low because Skrew had it so effectively narrowed down, even with that reject chain. The idea that you might get away with a bug after that, though, that is crazy.
Yeah, you get a 5-person reject at Purloin here. Walt, Pearl, Twin. Sorry, not Twin. Irish, Red Dress. And I'm missing one? That sounds like 5 to me. Either way, it's a lot of people to start off the game. And kind of crazy to think that Skrew was on top of that reject chain. I mean, he is 100% a camping sniper when it comes to these things. That's where his strengths come through as a sniper, able to watch those mission sites so well. But to be so accurate with these lowlights and tag everyone who was involved in that reject chain, impressive. For Watermeat to get this crazy walking bug that just, they never work. They never work. And this one did.
And well, the only way to make these bugs work, and Watermeat does it here. Thankfully, the door really helped. Is you gotta kind of crash into the ambassador, and that the doorway gave the ambassador nowhere else to go.
It's a full Hodor bug. That's what that is.
And literally, as it was happening, Skrew was starting to adjust his highlights to be more about suspicion and mission progress, because Pell had stepped into statues, and so Red Dress was getting low neutraled, Irish was getting neutraled, Skrew was getting Watermeat was getting neutraled as well. All Watermeat had to do was return that book back to the shelf, maybe cheese a flirt. I can understand at 146 your flirt progress is pretty dire, and so you do feel the need to go for a hardtail, a third one. But yeah, at that's point there, the greed when it came to hardtail is potentially just a little bit too much, and potentially just assuming. And I can understand what the assumption that you are low lit, but
especially when you don't get shot for the bug. Yeah, I don't think they had any sense of how good that bug was on the sniper side, is the thing. To them, it feels like probably an okay bug or maybe even a messy one. So when they're not shot, they think, combine that with the green purloin and the reject chain, I'm probably low lit. It's a very reasonable assumption. And against anyone other than Skrewwl00se on this day who was completely on top of it, it might have worked.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, Track. If you didn't get shot for the bug, then chances are you're low lit at that stage. It's reasonable explanation. But either way, a strong win for Skrewwl00se here. And he has 2 more matches left in the season to play. One against Nerf and one against yours truly. And we'll have to see how that goes for him.
Yeah, Skrewwl00se has absolutely put a lot of their silver competitors, you included, on notice if they weren't already.